Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Helen Crossley. I'm a white woman with brown hair wearing a black top, black pants, and leopard print shoes. It's lovely to be here. Truly it is. At Facebook, as Priya mentioned, I'm the global head of marketing science, and you might be thinking, what's that? Who is this person? I'm here today to tell you I have the best job at Facebook and Meta. My job is to help organizations all around the world, such as yourselves, small and medium organizations in particular, get the best possible results when it comes to advertising on our platforms. I want you to get the highest ROI. I want you to get the lowest possible CPA. And there is nothing that gives me more joy than seeing some of the fantastic examples we've had over the last 2 days, case studies where you guys are absolutely crushing it. So with that, really, you guys are doing some amazing stuff. And I want to help you do even more of that in the year ahead. And so that's what we're really going to chat about today. How we can, particularly in this audience as arts and culture organizations, leverage our unique strengths to have more success when it comes to our digital marketing. And so we've heard a lot in the last 2 days about how AI is a transformative force for marketers. And what I want to tell you is it's actually been a transformative force for Meta as well. In the past couple of years, we have completely rebuilt our auction and delivery systems from the ground up, putting privacy and AI at the center of that. So if you've been around the industry for as long as I have, I've been at Meta for 12 plus years now, you would be familiar with this version of our product. And when we had this version of our product, the key to success, yes, by the way, there was AI in it as well, but the key to success, the way to have an edge in the auction, was really about having an army of data scientists who could go out there and do amazing segmentation models. I'm guilty as one of them who was out there doing that sort of thing, and really finding micro-targets who would be particularly interested in my one piece of creative. But all of that has changed in the last few years as we've made all of these changes to our system. So today, more than 50% of the content that people are seeing on Instagram and Facebook is coming from AI-generated recommendations. And that's true for ads as well. So this is where we get to this idea that creative is the new targeting. Targeting is not the thing that's going to give you that competitive edge anymore. It is really all about how your creative shows up on our platforms, how creative you can be, that is going to give you that performance edge. And in fact, creative is often the most important factor when it comes to predicting the audience your ad will reach and the price that you pay for that ad. Over 56% of auction outcomes can be attributed to creative. I actually think it's a little higher than this these days. And the thing is, that is fantastic news for this room. Great news. We don't need the army of data scientists anymore. We need to be creative. And your organizations have an advantage. Creativity is in your DNA. You can already, through your organizations, tell stories and draw emotion from people using arts, performance, theater, and music. And that is what I want you to tap into, because that is going to be your superpower that others don't have. When I'm out in the industry talking to big, dare I say sometimes boring corporations, they would love to be in the position that you're in with the sort of creative thinking that your organizations possess. But I know it's not always that easy. It's not just a matter of, hey, we're a creative organization, therefore we have great creative. So there are 4 things that I really want us to talk about when it comes to unlocking this superpower that you all have. The first is data quality. The second is creative diversity. The third is account simplification. That's a particularly fun one. And the fourth one is test and learn mindset. So let's talk a little bit first about data quality. Now, some of you are thinking, Helen, you just promised me I don't need all the data scientists to be successful. And that is true. You don't need an army of data scientists, but you do need a really good plumber. And that plumber's name is Conversions API. So what it is, basically in layman's terms, is it's a way for you to record outcomes, events on your website, on your server side, in a really privacy-safe way that are important to you. So maybe that's a ticket sale, a lead, a donation, whatever it is that you're trying to optimize for, the Conversions API is capturing that data. And then again, in a privacy-safe way, we are able to match into that and find out what it is that's making that outcome happen. And when we do that, we're able to find a lot more people who are more likely to take that outcome. So we really have to have this plumbing in place before we can talk about anything else. It's absolutely foundational, and it might be a little bit scary to you. So if you have a great agency, shout out to CI, talk to them about it. They know how to do this. If you don't have an agency, it's also very possible to do it on your own. You just need to take a little bit of time and effort. Our website walks you through all the steps. And one other common barrier I hear is, what about if I don't own my ticketing platform? What if I don't own my e-commerce platform? What do I do then? And what I want to say is have a conversation with those guys. So more and more we're seeing that ticketing platforms, third-party partners, third-party e-commerce providers, Shopify's of the world, WooCommerce, whoever it might be, are actually offering this Conversions API integration in their services because they know that it's important to all of you and it will make you more successful as well. So reach out, have that conversation, ask them what's possible for you in your particular situation. Now, some of you are sitting here thinking, I've already done that, good job, go me, and good job, congratulations, absolutely, pat yourselves on the back, because it is a big step and it is a really important one. But I still have homework for those of you who have already taken that step. So if you've already got your Conversions API up and running, the next really important thing you can do to supercharge your performance on our platforms is to make sure that you're sending good data. So again, you can have your agency do this for you, or you can yourself go into what we call Events Manager. Make sure that the data you're sending has good coverage, you're not duplicating things, and you're sending it often. Those three things alone can actually really dramatically improve your performance on our platforms because we're able to make more matches. So here you're able to get 19% attributed additional purchase events by making the match quality better. The more matches we have, the more chance we have of going out and finding more people who look like those matches. So that was a little bit about data quality and why it's important. When we get our data quality right, we can build on top of it. We can do some fun stuff once we get that foundation out of the way. So let's talk a little bit about one company that has done that and done that successfully, and then we can talk more about creative diversity. So this is Fever. Are some of you familiar with them? They're a ticketing live events platform, and they're hosting live events and advertising on their site that they are using. One of the ones that they have done a lot with recently is this immersive Van Gogh exhibition. Funnily enough, I was outside this morning, and the bagel cart had an ad for this as well. So I haven't yet seen it, but I feel like the universe really, really wants me to go to this exhibit. And so I think I'll have to put that on my to-do list very soon. But they've recently kind of adopted the Conversions API, and just to give you a flavor of the types of results that people are getting when they do this. So they got a 2x incremental return on investment just by doing this. And again, more than 2x lower cost by implementing that Conversions API. Making better data, making better use of the data allows them to do a lot more on top of it. And you know, as well as the bagel cart, yesterday I was at the hairdresser because I have kids. It's really hard for me to get a haircut when I'm at home in California. And so I'm like, I'll get my haircut while I'm in New York. Also a little bit cheaper. Win-win. I like maximizing ROI. It's in my DNA. But the guy was saying to me, because he asked me, you know, it's a hairdresser. He likes to make conversation. What do? And I explained, I help advertisers on Facebook and Instagram get better results. And he was like, fantastic. This happens to me a lot, by the way. My ads have really not performed as well as they used to. During the pandemic, before the pandemic, I was getting really great results. And I don't know what happened, but I'm just not able to get that same level of success as I was anymore. And every time I hear this, 9 times out of 10, what's going on is this. The plumbing isn't there. They don't have their Conversions API set up, and therefore if they've not got good plumbing, it's really hard to do on top of it the building that needs to happen. And that was the case for this guy. And so that was my job last night after getting a haircut, working away, giving him some tips on how he can improve his results. Okay, so we talked about data quality. Next, I want to get into more of the fun stuff, creative diversity. And I have seen some fantastic examples of creative from this audience, and I'm excited to show you a few more. When it comes to creative on our system, one of the things you need to know is that we're using computer vision and AI to identify and analyze the creative that you're uploading. And if two things look visually similar, the way those systems work is they give it scores. It's going to think that it's actually the same thing. And so even if you're saying, like, hey, it is actually different, our system might think that if it's quite similar, it's the same and not show it to more people. So we ran a test, and we did only one change in this test. So in cell 1, we had a campaign which had two images that kind of looked the same. They were different, but they kind of looked very similar. And then in cell 2, we had the same campaign, the same bidding, the same targeting, the same everything, and the only thing we changed was that one of the images looked a little bit more distinct. And that change alone, nothing else, was able to derive 9% incremental reach and 32% better efficiency. And that's just by making one of the images a little bit different. So you can start to think about, okay, well, what would happen if we started to make a lot of things very different? And here you can see example, I want to make my message different, my visual different, my formats and placements different. And so this is where we start to get really strong results in this new AI-driven world. And we'll talk through all of these different examples. So different visuals and concepts, different formats and placements, different motivations and messages. We want you to diversify all the things. So we already touched on a little different visuals, so the example of having very similar versus very distinct visuals, but the other ones that's important is different concepts. So what do I mean by different concepts? I mean different ways of telling the same story. So here you can see a creator telling a story, you can see a reel telling a story. If we take an arts example, imagine that we have a gallery opening. And how can I tell the story of my gallery opening in many different ways? The message might be the same, but maybe I can tell that story by having a fantastic behind-the-scenes unboxing video, pulling out the artwork, seeing what it looks like, seeing the excitement of the curator as it gives that message of new gallery opening. I could tell that same story with an influencer or a creator in the space who maybe is so excited to come to my gallery opening party and get that message out. I could tell that same message in a different way by just looking at how I can have just a plain old vanilla static image, simple, but it works, that says, hey, new gallery opening. And so different concepts can also help us differentiate our messages. And this is a nice example, shout out to ICA Boston, and they're doing a really great job. It doesn't have to be complicated. So here we've got 3 different examples that are visually different. So, show of hands, work with me here for a second. We're going to take a look at these 3 different artworks. Who likes this one the best? No one? Okay. Who likes the one in the middle the best? About a third to a half. Who likes this one the best? Ooh, a lot of people like that one the best. And so what we've just shown here is basically what our system is doing. I would not have necessarily predicted that this was the most popular, but we're giving our system lots of things to choose from, and in doing so, we're reaching a broader audience. I also don't want to miss out on the people who like this one best. So here we're just showing just visual differences can really help you reach more audience. The next one I wanted to talk about is diversifying. So we talked visuals, we talked concepts, now let's talk messages and motivations. So this is a hypothetical example of a shoe brand. And here, you'll see they took the advice from yesterday and they used a handy-dandy chatbot to understand what are 3 different barriers, 3 different motivations that someone might have when it comes to buying shoes. So they're trying to get some ideas, what might my customer might be interested in? And we've come up with 3 different messages: sustainability, uniqueness and style, and comfort. And in the bad old days of digital advertising, what we might have done is then stereotype and say, well, who might be interested in a sustainability message? I'm going to target folks who are interested in the environment, maybe young people in a particular age group, maybe a particular gender. Similarly with uniqueness, I'm going to send that uniqueness style message out to women 18 to 24 because that's who I think is probably going to be most resonant with that message. And then over here, comfort, ladies 55 plus, clearly that's for them, and that's what I'm going to send that to. And now we all know that is wrong, right? Anyone in any age, any gender, any demographic can be interested in any one of those messages. And who is it for us to decide exactly who should get what? You know, everyone is unique and different, and by letting our AI systems optimize this for you, it gives you the most possible chance of getting that right message to that right person at that right time. But you have to give our AI systems lots of options to play with. So here we had 3 different messages for it to play with, and we can reach more people in doing so. An example of a group that's doing that really well, another art spotlight, is Grounds for Sculpture. And so what they're doing here is the first example is you can see, hey, we've got a Valentine's night message. So we're clearly looking at people who are interested in maybe a date night, a romantic night. Next, we've got only 1 week left. It's a different message. It's a very broad message. It might appeal to anyone. And here, we've got a family night out. And we've got an image with a family in it. And we're not telling our system, well, only show this one to mums. We're going to let the system do what it does best, and we're going to find, through a variety of different messages, a broad audience and make sure that our system is dynamically optimizing that for you. Okay, so we've talked in the visual diversity space, we've talked about different imagery, different concepts, different messages and motivations. Next, I want to talk a little bit more about different placements and formats. So just to take a step back for a second, at Meta, when I talk about a format, that's the type of ad. So is it a static ad, a video ad, a carousel, the type that it is? And when I talk about a placement, we're talking about where it is. So is it on Instagram or Facebook or Stories or Reels? And this stat is very recent. It's showing that about 60+% of time spent on Instagram and Facebook is now spent on video. And I know for a fact that 60% of your ads are not video ads. I can see someone up there hanging their head a little in shame, guilty as charged. I know that this is true. And so what that means is you're really limiting your audience if you're not including enough video. And hopefully you were all inspired by those Reels examples in the earlier session. There were some great examples. It doesn't need to be huge production value, really heavy lift. Getting more video into your system, into your ads, is going to help you quite a lot. But it's not just video. I need you to have 3 specific assets for each of the messages that you're putting out to maximize your performance. So first, I need you to have a 4x5. It says 1x1 or 4x5, but hot off the press last night, new study came through. I'm allowed to tell you, 4x5 works 2.2% better. So I will update all of my slides because I care about you guys getting that 2.2%. So 4x5 static image. Next, I need you to have a 4x5 video. And then last, I need you to have a 9x16 audio on video. If you have these 3 assets for me, for each of the messages that you've identified, then we can do a lot with that. We can put your ad in all the places, pretty much for all the people. And there's a specific ad that I also wanted to talk about. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this ad type versus that ad type. But I did want to just touch on one ad because it's specifically designed and developed for those in the live events space. And it's a newer ad format that's just launched in the last year and is rolling out slowly. So it's called Reminder Ads on Instagram. And what it does for you is it allows people to opt in to remind me, is the call to action, on a particular event. And when that happens, people who've opted in receive 3 push notifications, 24 hours before, 15 minutes before, and at the time of the event. And this is what they'll see come up. So if you have like a pre-sale This is a fantastic format for you guys to test out. I don't yet have a ton of data on how well it's working, but I want you to test it and try it. And our art spotlight for those who are doing a great job using lots of different formats and placements is the National Symphony Orchestra at the Kennedy Center. Here, they just are doing a great job of giving us all the assets that allow us to put it in all the places. So you've got stories, you've got Facebook feed, we've got Reels here, and we've got Instagram feed ads as well. And that allows us a lot of space, a lot of diversity to show it to many, many people. And what's nice about this example is that they didn't actually have a ton of content. They didn't have, bags of video that they can pull out and put into this particular campaign. They're being a little hacky, and the agency is helping them to be hacky to help them use slideshows and other formats to generate video where they didn't actually have video content before. And what's nice is that we're increasingly building tools that can help you to do this as well. And so you don't necessarily have to do that hacky thing where you make a slideshow to make a video. Increasingly, we've got tools that help you improve the visuals of your creative. It just brightens the image or the video. It helps you to write the copy, and it helps you to add audio. So if you've got a great video, but maybe your audio is a little scratchy, you were recording on a phone, fantastic. But we can help you with choosing a better audio track to make that ad shine a little brighter on the platform. And again, just 2 weeks ago, we actually launched the ability to do full Gen AI video ad creative, which is cool for those of you who are struggling with video, and I know it can be a struggle, right? But I do want to caution you. The thing is, you guys have this superpower of creativity, right? And I really want you to use it. I want you to tap into the stories of your organizations. I want you to tap into the creativity and the visuals that you have in your organizations before you resort to tools like this. These are great if you're struggling or if you just need to get over a hump, or we've all been there, we've got a particular creative, we've got a deadline, and we don't have content for it. Fantastic. But the best ads, the best creative will be the ones which are really authentic to your organizations, that tap into the creativity that you have, and then can bring that message to your audiences and to more and more people who are interested in your particular product. So good option, but a little caveat on that one. So that was creative diversity. We talked about data quality, we talked about creative diversity. Next, I want to talk and touch on, just briefly, a little bit about account simplification. So what this means is basically, we've talked how AI can really improve your outcomes by giving lots of things to think about. Lots of data, lots of creative options means it has lots of things to choose between. So in order to maximize the AI's ability to make all of those choices and to have a lot of diversity, we can't then go and put a lot of constraints on top of it, which is basically what happens if you set up your campaigns like this. And this is the way a lot of people set up campaigns, and I guarantee, even after I've told you all of this, a lot of you will still probably set up your campaigns like this, but we'll get to that. So in the past, what you might have done is had one campaign for a particular customer segment where you say, I want to spend 50% of my budget on this segment, 50% of my budget on that segment. These are the ads for each. Essentially what you're doing is you're telling the AI how to optimize already. You're telling it 50% on this, 50% on that, when maybe you might have got a whole lot more outcomes if you had, say, spent 75% or 80% on one customer segment and a smaller percentage on the other. Similarly, in this second example, maybe you've got, you're letting it choose the budget between the different customer sets, but you're still dictating some of the creative or the messaging. We don't want that to happen either. Ideally, the most optimal setup that we have is structure number 3 over here. So we have a single campaign, we've got all our targeting, all our budget, everything in this one campaign, and we're letting the AI do what it does best by making lots of choices around that. And why I say this is because it works, like all of the things I'm recommending to you. So here is an example. It's actually a fitness company. They made this one change. They had a lot of campaigns, a list as long as your arm, and they really simplified that down to a smaller group, a more simple structure, and they got a 30% higher return on ad spend just from doing that example. So it's something that's important. It works. Really what it does is unlocks AI's ability to work harder for you. Okay, so lastly, what I want to talk about is the importance of results validation in accurately valuing your marketing efforts. And really, this is having a test and learn mindset. So all of the things I've talked to you about today, with the exception of reminder ads and Gen AI, because they're both new and I don't yet have good data on them. But all of the things I've talked to you about today have been things that we've proven work better for customers like you. So on average, I know that if you have that creative diversity, you will get better results. But everyone is different, and we know that. And so not everything will work for every single advertiser, for every single organization. I want you guys to embrace having a test and learn mindset to help you figure out what works best for your particular organization. And we know that people who do this absolutely get better results. So one way to do this and to think about it would be just A/B testing. It's simple, but I cannot tell you how many different people are out there set up 2 campaigns with 2 different messages and think that they're running an A/B test because one performs better than the other. That is not actually a fair A/B test, because the way our system operates, it is going to unfairly over-deliver one of those messages versus the other. If you use our A/B testing tool, you can set it up in such a way that scientifically it will prove to you which one of those 2 messages is the winning message. So this is a great option. Whilst I want you to have all the messages, I want you to have all the diversity, this is a great option for maybe if you've got a more limited production budget and you've had 3 or 4 messages out in the past and you want to know, hey, where should I focus most of my efforts when it comes to my production budget? Maybe I want to test this message versus that. Or maybe if you've got a promotion coming up in a peak season and you really want to make sure that you're putting most of your money behind a particular idea, using A/B testing to identify the most winning efficient ad is a really great way to do that. And this is an example of one of the things I just talked about earlier. So I talked about how you should have a simplified account structure and that your performance will improve, very likely, if you do. And I also said that even when I tell you this, many of you won't do it, which is fine. I don't take it personally. But what I would love is for you to test it out, and test it out in a scientific way by creating 2 different campaigns. So here you've got maybe the way that you normally do your campaign structure, having different ad sets for different segments. And here you've got a second cell that will set it up with everything in the structure that I recommended. Now, I can predict what the winning cell will be for most of you, but not for all of you. And so you should absolutely test it out. See if it works for you, for your organization. Maybe there's a really good reason why this structure works better for you. There are always edge cases out there, and maybe yours is one of them. So set up an A/B test. Use our systems to set it up. Not just having 2 campaigns side by side, but really using those A/B testing tools allows you to run a fair and scientific test that will give you the best possible answer to your question. Okay. So we talked about creativity and how important it is for all of you in the audience and for your organizations. We talked about 4 things that can really unlock that creative superpower. So we talked about data quality, creative diversity, account simplification, and test and learn mindset. And when it comes to thinking about your next digital campaign, your next digital marketing, the things that we've talked about today actually hold true across a lot of different digital platforms. They're not really specific to Meta and Instagram and Facebook. These same principles can be applied in many different places. And the reality is that I really, really want you guys to be successful. I want you guys to be out there winning our auction, increasing your audience, getting more eyeballs, more bums in seats, because I really would like this group of people to be driving that creative force on our platforms. And I know that you absolutely can do it. And so with that, I want you to understand that the next digital marketing campaign you have, don't think about my success is buried in a complex algorithm or hidden somewhere in the data, and I just need more data. What we really need to think about is how do we unlock the creativity, the superpower of all of your organizations so that you can connect with more audiences and absolutely have more success. So thank you very much.